Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to be reviewing this BKLES water filter. I was recently approached by these folks and I thought it was pretty interesting because there's not a whole lot of battery powered water filters on the market. There's only a few portable battery powered rechargeable water filters, so I thought this was pretty interesting and wanted to give it a shot. I want to see, in this video, I'm going to, like you can see this water right here, I'm going to test it with that water. I've tested it outside. I've tested it for how many gallons it will get. And I've tested it to kind of see if their specs stand up or how different they are. So I'll be going through that as well as what's included in this, what their filtration system, how it's made, and all of that. So I've already got everything taken out of the box because I've been using it. But this is the box it comes in, and then this comes inside it with the cord, the power cord, and the tubes and everything. With this, you get the power cord right here, which is a decent power cord. I mean, it seems like it's pretty good quality. Then you've got the outlet tube right here with the pre-filter on it, and then you've got the output tube right here and the input tube right here, which you suck the dirty water through. The filter itself comes in this sleeve right here, which is seems like a pretty quality sleeve. It's not something cheap like you'd find at Walmart. The one downside, I think, and we'll have to see, but if you were to store these like you're supposed to, store these tubes in here, you don't have a whole lot of room, and it can get pretty tight with that filter in there. So this, to me, could have been a little bit bigger. But it's not as if it doesn't work. It just could have been a little bit bigger. It's got this strap right here. You can put it on your backpack. If you got a MOLLE system, you can hang it on your pouch right here. I believe they say this weighs, on the website here, they say that it's 350 grams, which is about 12 ounces, I believe, just over 12 ounces, or 3/4 of a pound. So with this, it's not something you may want to take it hiking depending on what you're doing, but as far as a bug out bag, I just don't see that. Also on the website here, we'll talk about, before I dig this open, we'll talk about the water filtration aspect of it. And on the website right here, it talks about the inside filter, which is replaceable, and for the pre-filter on the outside and the filter on the inside, I believe they're like $35. But that filter on the inside has the KDF, which is the kinetic degradation fluxation. It reduces hydrogen sulfide, chlorine, and heavy metals. The granulated active carbon, which is the same thing, and granulated carbon isn't quite as good as solid block carbon, but it still does the job. PP cotton layer removes sand, rust, and other impurities. And then the ultrafiltration layer, which is the ultrafiltration membrane filtering out most harmful impurities. And it says it filters up to 99.99 of the impurities. So according to them, it's a pretty good little filter. So let's dig this open and I'll show you what it looks like here. So you take this out of the bag, put that on the side so we can get that out of the way. You've got the filter right here, which is a sort of a plastic filter body, so not the most durable, but it's not so cheap that it's gonna, if you drop it or whatever, it's gonna crack on you and fall apart. Right here you've got the cover for the charging port. If I can open that up right there, it's got a little water resistant seal on it. This also has a flashlight on it. Not the brightest in the world, but I suppose if you're needing to filter at night, that will help, or at your campsite, just a little bit of light right there. On top here is where the filter is. The bottom, this is where the battery goes in. The battery is not replaceable, but a little bit of ingenuity. I'm not exactly sure how this bottom goes on, if it's glued on or if maybe there's a couple screws underneath here. If you know what you're doing, you probably could replace the battery. I just don't know that, the batteries may outlast the motor. The motor may outlast the batteries. You just don't know. And at the $50, $60 price point for this, I just don't, if you got the skills for it, great. I just don't know that it would be worth my time. But the filter right here, let's unscrew this top right here. And then you pop this off. Oh, a little bit wet still. So this is the filter itself right here. And this filter has got the, on the bottom here, it's got the KDF and the activated carbon. And then up here, it's got that ultrafiltration layer, which is basically just the cotton. I'm not so sure, about that, because it's, I just don't know if anything. It looks like things can actually get through that stuff, but I don't know how this stuff works, so I could be wrong. If anybody knows in the comments, let me know. But that's the filter right here, and everything basically comes up through the bottom and then out this top port right here. It's got these little caps on it that cover up the inlet and outlet. These I can see getting lost fairly quickly, so I wouldn't depend on those, I suppose. I'm not going to. But that's the filter element right there. And then we'll talk about the hoses, and then we'll kind of we'll do a test on this water I've got right here. So with the hoses, what you do, you've got your inlet hose right here, or outlet hose. I keep doing it backwards, but you put this on up here. Let me move the instruction manual. The instruction manual is pretty decent as well. It tells you exactly how to use this and best practices and all that. It's actually better than some instruction manuals that I've gotten for other products. And then you take the inlet portion right here, and this goes on the bottom. Again, it's got that little nipple on it, which you just take off. It could easily be lost though, and you just plug this in right here. So what I did, before I do this, I want to explain what I did outside with the horse trough is basically what I used, because everything is frozen out here. I was going to use my pond to get some water out of, but it's frozen over. So the only water source, really the only dirty water source I had, was the horse trough. So what I did was go out there and got a gallon jug, filled it with some water, and then put the pre-filter portion of it into the water trough and let that filter into, I had a orange juice jug that I used. And it took, the orange juice jug is about 1.5 quarts, and it took about 3 minutes to fill up the orange juice jug. So not very long. And if you have a stable place to put it down, you could put it down. There's a little icy out there, so I couldn't. But if you have a stable place to put it down, you can put it down, go do what you need to do, and then come back to it later. Like I said, I did some tests to see how long this battery would last, and I will go through that towards the end of this video. But this is the water right here that I got out of the horse trough. I forgot to save the water that was before it was filtered, but this is the water that came out of it afterwards. And I've drank some of this, and it's absolutely fine. It tastes like water would. Nice clean water. There's no aftertaste, no weird taste or anything like that. No, alfalfa taste or anything. But it did a good job with that water. Now, our horse trough isn't the dirtiest water in the world, so take that for what it is. That's why I decided to agitate this a little bit and put this a little bit centered on camera. That's why I decided to do a test with this stuff. Now, in a normal situation, I wouldn't put water like this through my filter, water that had this many impurities and stuff in it, large ones. What I would probably do is pre-filter something like this through a bandana and then put it through the filter, because the filter, they say the filter life of this is about 1,000 liters, and that it comes out to about 264 gallons. I don't know that I'd want to use a filter that long, depending on what I was putting through it. But that also reduces if you're putting water like this through it, or really dirty water. So keep that in mind as well. And also their statement about how many gallons of water this will, put through in one charge is also a little bit misleading. But at any rate, let's go ahead and put this. Let me get these to where you can put them all on the camera here. Let's go ahead and filter this water and see what it looks like coming through. Let me give that one more little stir to make sure I get all the crud and crusties up there. And then we'll put this through. And then on this filter, on this side right here, you just hit the power button and let it go to work. And you can see it does filter fairly quickly. I mean, a lot quicker than it, a lot easier than if you had to hand pump this. And it's a little bit loud right here because it's on the table, but it's really not that loud. It's almost like a small, one of those, a portable fan or something similar to that. So it's not real loud. I had it on for about 3 hours yesterday, and it didn't bother me at all. So I'm not going to go all the way to the bottom with this, but I'll get most of it. So in about a minute or so, we got the glass of water transferred over. Now with this, you can see that there's a little bit of a tint. I don't know that you can see it on the video. All right, real quick here, and then we'll get back to the video. I decided to run that water through my Sawyer Mini because it was a little bit tinted. And through the Sawyer Mini, you can see it got a little bit more, but it's still a little bit tinted. And I don't know if you can see that on the video. But that's because the Sawyer especially is a particulate filter. And it doesn't, this is probably the tannins from the potting soil that I had in there. Not harmful, but that's why it has that discoloration. Now, you can't really taste anything. So it is, it didn't take out all of the discoloration, but it doesn't taste like anything, basically. It tastes like water should taste. It does a fairly good job. I'm going to have to back flush this and clean it out really well. If I do decide to, continue using this, I'm going to run a bunch more tests with it as well. What I'll probably do is just buy a brand new filter for $35, filter and pre-filter, and just not use them, put them away in my preps, and then I don't have to worry about it later on. But what I did yesterday, because they claim on their website that this will filter 44 gallons of water on one full charge. And to me, that seemed like a lot, which is, I mean, if that were true, and it still does pretty well, if that were true, that's a lot of water. So if you had a rain catchment system outside and you just wanted to take this little water filter, say you had a 5-gallon bucket on the side, and you wanted to transfer some of that rainwater and get some of those impurities out, say if it came off the roof or it had leaves and stuff like that in it, you could put this out there, set it and forget it, basically, and go do what you need to do. But I wanted to find out if it actually could filter 44 gallons of water on a full charge. And what I found was, it takes about 8 minutes to filter 1 gallon of water, which isn't too bad. So you could basically, if you want to filter some water, you turn it on, you go, do whatever you have to do and come back and turn it off. You do have to sort of watch it because you want to make sure that pre-filter is in the water and everything's working. So about 8 minutes for a gallon of water. And what this did was it filtered just about 22 gallons of water. 21 and a half gallons of water, I believe is what I got. And the first half of the charge of the battery, I got 11 gallons from it. And then it flipped to half. And then after that, I got about 10 more gallons. And, who knows if that was exactly half or not. But I wanted to see how the battery would run down. So it worked really well on the first half of the battery, and then, as per anything with a lithium-ion battery, it started to flow a little bit slower after about 3/4, and then it took a little bit longer. So the light on this filter itself, when you turn it on, it's got the 4 dots up here on top. The light itself started to blink, and I was, thinking that it was at 0. So I wanted to see how many more gallons I could get, or how much more water I could get after it started to blink. And you can get 1.5 gallons of water. That's what I got yesterday, was 1.5 gallons of water from this filter after it started to blink and tell me that I needed to recharge it. So long story short, this is something, this has basically got a 20 gallon capacity. if you're filtering, if you need to filter water. So if you are in a bug out situation, you are in some sort of situation where it's going to be a few days, 20 gallons of water is going to be really good for you and your family, say for a week. So even without being able to charge this, you'd still be good for about a week. Give or take, depending on your whole situation. But 20 gallons is a lot on one charge. I was pretty impressed by that, even though it's not quite up to their 44 gallons that they state on their website, which also gives me pause about the filter when they state that it filters out 99.9% of the impurities. I'm a little leery of all filter companies these days, because with the things going on with Berkey right now and all the different products that are on the market, who knows what they will actually do. But I guess something is better than nothing, I suppose. And my Sawyer is my absolute fallback. There's also a 5-gallon bucket method you can do with that. But this would go in my preps, and it's one of those better than nothing type things. Not saying that it's not a good filter, not saying that it doesn't do what it does or what they state it does. But I'm just really leery about all these different filters. They say they do have certifications and all that stuff. So, I haven't dug into this enough to actually give any detail on that. But all in all, it's a pretty good filter. I like the idea, especially if you are, limited physically. I like the idea of not having to sit here and pump, not having to. It's basically a 40 gallons worth of pumping that you can do with one of these with one little charge. Also, after I drained this completely, it took about 3.5 hours to do that 20 gallons of water, 21 gallons of water. And then it took about 4.5 hours to recharge this to complete capacity plugged into the wall. You can also, if you've got a solar setup, you can also charge this with your solar setup, as long as you have the ability to plug a USB into your solar panel, or if you've got a charge controller, that would work as well. But all in all, I think it's pretty cool for the price. It's a decent price, $50-$60. I know there's a couple of other ones on the market that are sort of just like this one. A few differences between them. There's nothing real that I found anyway that's real high end. Katadyn doesn't make a battery powered one, I don't think. I know Sawyer doesn't, but kind of a cool little neat little option. Again, don't know that it would be in my bug out bag. Don't know that it would be a life-saving situation. But if I had a rainwater catchment system or something like that in my backyard with a big old, drum, or maybe even, out of my pond. My pond's not huge. It's only about 400 gallons. But, something like this to get water out of the pond would do pretty well. So all in all, cool little product. Again, I think there's just so many different options when it comes to water filters. Who knows? These days, go with if you're going to depend on if it's something you're going to depend on, a life-saving thing, go with something that's tried and true. But around here at the house, I've got 15 different types of water filters. I've got a couple that I'm going to use. They would be my first choice, and then a bunch more that, hey, it's a better than nothing type thing. And this actually absolutely could be, if your needs are just, filtering out water that is fairly clean and you're not worried about it killing you, something like this would do the trick. Something that I'm worried about, I need to do a little bit more research as far as cryptosporidium and all of that stuff, and see if it does actually filter down to what it says it does. But at any rate, if you all have any comments, any questions, anything like that, leave them below. Like I said, I'm going to do a little bit more research in the future on this. If you guys have, leave them in the comments. But with that, take care and prepare, everyone. We'll talk to you all later.